Hello, and welcome to today's MVP Days virtual conference and my session Managing Azure Stack VMs with Azure Update Management and Configuration Management. My name is Kristopher Turner, sometimes called the Country Cloud Boy. I'm a senior cloud architect at NTT Data Services, focusing on our Azure Stack and hybrid cloud services. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can find me on Twitter at Christopher J. Housekeeping notes. I don't like PowerPoint, as you can see by my awesome PowerPoint design. I promise I only have a few slides left coming your way. I'll be doing mostly demos today and taking questions as well during the webinar. Yes, you're a wizard, Harry. This I threw in for a few people who may or may not be watching this. You know who you are. Let's talk about update management, configuration management, and Azure Stack VMs for like 3 seconds. This year at Ignite, in one of the theater sessions, we saw the introduction to Azure Update and Configuration Management extension. This extension enables us to manage our Azure Stack VMs using some of the services in Azure as long as you have a connected scenario. The extension is easy to install, either via the Azure Stack portal or using an ARM template, which I will be demoing today here soon. What solutions can we take advantage of? Thanks for asking. This extension enables management of our Azure Stack VMs with Azure Configuration Management and two of its solutions, inventory and change tracking. It also enables us to use Azure's update management to update our Azure Stack VMs as well. Something else that isn't documented yet, at least I don't think it's documented, that I came across. And if I have time, I'll show you some of these extras as well. Guess what time it is? Yes, it's demo time. No more PowerPoint. Okay, let's start this demo here. As you can see, I'm now in my Azure Stack tenant portal, and I'm also logged into our Azure Public Cloud portal as well. Um, I'd like to go over a little bit of high-level stuff before we start the demo. Um, in order to use the configuration management solution and the update management solution, you will need a log analytics workspace and a automation account created as well. Um, at a high level, this is what the solution looks like under configuration management. You have inventory, change tracking, and DSE, state configuration. Currently, state configuration does not work on Azure Stack VMs. Hopefully that comes pretty soon. And then, of course, we have our update management solution as well um, that we'll be talking about today. And so let's switch over to our Azure Stack tenant portal here. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to easily install this extension via the tenant portal and how to easily install this extension via an ARM template as well. Just to let you know, I already have some machines installed and pre-configured with the extension because of the time limits we have. It usually takes 15 minutes for a machine to populate um, and show up in update management and in the configuration management. So we pretty much don't have time to twiddle our thumbs and wait. Also, the data sometimes could take a couple hours to start populating on those new machines. So let me go back here to our Azure Stack tenant portal. Um, I'll give you a list of machines here that we're working with. I already have most of these machines already in. Um, these two machines have the extension installed, as you can see here. Um, I will go ahead and install two machines using the portal here, and then the fifth server here, I will go ahead and use the ARM template to install. It's all preference pretty much. Some people like doing it through the portal. Some people like ARM templates. Um, ARM templates actually make it a little easier to deploy faster, in my opinion. Um, but it's all up to your preference. So we just click on the virtual machine that we want to install the extension on. Click on extensions. Click add. Over here on our new resource blade, you'll see that we have the Azure Update and Configuration Management tenant, our extension. Click create. Excuse me. And then pretty simple. All it needs is to get your Azure Workspace ID and the workspace key. Pop this puppy in here. And just a little word of advice. If you're watching this session now, by the time the session is over, this workspace will be no longer. So yeah, that's why I'm pretty much not worried about providing and sharing the workspace key and the workspace ID. I know some of you out there, and I know some of you right now are probably trying to get on and play with my workspace. Just click OK. The deployment is in progress. It will take maybe 2-3 minutes for the extension to install. Another 10 or 15 minutes for the actual VM to appear magically in Azure as an Azure VM. That way we could go ahead and add it to update management and configuration management. I'm going to go and install this extension on our second VM just because I have an extra VM and it's always fun to do this for people. Again, just hit add, Azure update and configuration management. Paste in your workspace ID and your workspace key. Click OK, and again, as I said, a few minutes from now, the extension should be installed, and in about 10 or 15 minutes, that VM should magically pop up in Azure so we can manage it. Now, the template installation is fairly easy itself. For this demo, we're going to do it pretty simple. We're going to go to the marketplace, go down to template deployment, click on that, click create, hit edit template, quick start, and we're going to search for Microsoft Monitoring Agent, which is a template that pre-exists and is in the Azure Stack GitHub. We're going to click OK, and then we're going to hit save. We're going to make sure we're running this in the same resource group that our VM is in. Of course, the correct subscription. The parameters here, we're going to ask for our machine name that we're going to be using. Of course, we're going to be using MVPDays 05 for this demo. Our workspace ID is the same one we were using before. And our primary key, of course, is the one that we already used. Click OK, click create, and deployment and process. And again, like I said before, a few minutes for the extension to install, 10 minutes for the machine to magically appear in Azure, and then we could go back to Azure Public Cloud and start playing in there. Okay, so we're going to go back up to Azure Public. We're going to go back into the actual solution. Sorry about that. Inventory control, control, and update management. Right now I have it configured where the machines aren't automatically added to these two solutions. There are other ways that you could do that. But for this demo, I wanted to kind of show you how to manually do everything at first. As you can see, we have 5 machines that do not have change tracking or inventory enabled. Um, you click here to manage the machines, or actually just click up here to manage them as well. Same location. Um, Here you have a choice. You'll see that my previously installed machines, MVPDays 01 and MVPDays 02, that I already pre-installed the extension, are available to add to these solutions. Um, Here you could actually have a couple different choices. We could enable on all available machines, so all 5 of these machines, if I click OK or enable now, will now be enabled for these 2 solutions. Or we could actually go down here and just enable on the selected machines that we want to add. There's also a choice to enable them on all and all future machines as well. So any machine that in the future is that added, this extension is added to, or even in uh, any Azure VM, or even some on-prem machines that you're installing the actual Microsoft monitoring agent on, will actually be automatically added to the inventory and change tracking solutions. Same process with the update management as well. Um, you'll have managed machines, and you'll also see the machines that are available to add. And as you can see here, the 3 machines that we have previously just ran the extension installation are actually reporting and available to add to the update management solution as well. I do want to show you something really quick for troubleshooting purposes, or if you just need to figure out if the machines are actually reporting, if you don't see them pop up here within a decent amount of time. If you go over to your log analytics workspace, um, excuse me, sorry, under the advanced settings, you'll be able to see how many machines have been reported in. Right now we should have 14 machines connected. Some of these are old machines that don't exist anymore, but you'll at least be able to see that the machines that we just recently added the extension to should be showing up here pretty shortly in this list. If they don't show up in this list, then one of 2 things is happening. Either the machine hasn't had enough time for the extension to install and hasn't fully reported to Azure yet, or you might have some kind of issues with the machine and it won't report. That's a whole different troubleshooting step. But as you can see here, all 5 of my MVPDays VMs are now here and reporting some data to Log Analytics. Um, the 3 that we did on our own are here as well. So that is a very good thing here. So let's go back over to our solutions, and let's go ahead and add these machines to our solutions as in this demo. Fairly easy, fairly fast. I'm also going to enable the feature to just automatically add these machines in the future. It makes it a lot easier on the admin. We're just going to wait here. And then over inventory control and change tracking, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to enable all machines. And it takes a few seconds for them to actually get added. Now, it might take some time for this data from these new machines that we just deployed to be collected and to be processed and to show. But let me just go over some of the solutions really fast before we run out of time here. As you can see, we've got 6 machines that are reporting under the inventory solution currently, not including the ones that we just added. And you can see they're reporting the software that's on this machine, files that might be collected. Some of these settings we could go back in and customize. Once again, this is kind of a high-level overview of this solution, um, and we probably won't deep dive too much. But as you can see the services stopped, started, things like that. Kind of cool, I think, to be able to manage your Azure Stack VMs like this at this point. Change tracking, of course, uh, helps you monitor and track changes to your Azure Stack VMs, Azure VMs, on-prem VMs, etc., etc. A nice little tool. Kind of tells you what's been changing within a certain time period, 24 things like that. Then update management is the big one. Um, Here we could actually see what's compliant, what's not compliant. Um, then again, uh, the 5 machines that we just added might not show up for some time here, but once they do, the first for a while they will show compliance is not compliant um, because of course they haven't ran their compliance. And all this stuff we could talk about later on another session. I would love to talk about this at another session. Um, but the ones here that we already preloaded, you can see that some of them are missing updates. Most of them are the Windows Defender updates. Then again, we got 8 machines that are missing the most current, uh, looks, the most current update for Windows 2016. Um, Fairly easy to use this tool. It's not very advanced. There's some gotchas that that we're going to run across, especially with managing Azure Stack VMs. For one thing, if you have a cluster built on your Azure Stack, um, Azure's not going to know about that. So when you're going to be patching your Azure Stack VMs, and for instance, you might have a storage space direct cluster that you're using to as a backend for app service, or some SQL clusters, um, it's not going to notice that it's a cluster. And then if you put everything in one scheduled update deployment, it's going to update and reboot. It's not going to care about the availability set and how you have it configured. So just take that into consideration when you're planning your update management. There's also not a way to on-demand update, which I'm hoping they add soon, because in order to schedule any kind of updates, you've got to schedule an update. It's got to be 20 to 30 minutes out, and there's not like an easy right-click update now, which would be very, very awesome. If you're listening and you're a member of that product group, please, please add this. It would be an amazing feature. So, high level, we have our scheduled update deployments that I've already created. I have a Defender daily that runs twice a day to make sure that your Defender updates are updated. No reboot. I have 2 example production groups, A and B, that run on the third Saturday of every month at two different time periods. That we will add one node from a cluster and another node from another cluster. That way, you're always having at least one node up and running. Um, when a job has been run, you go into updates deployment, and you'll see that the jobs are successful. You'll have a big long list of hopefully successful jobs, all green check marks, right? Because it's always green check marks. Um, and then, of course, you have your missing updates and all that fun stuff. This is update management and inventory and change tracking solutions at a high level, um, and how you could actually manage your Azure VMs, Azure Stack VMs, using those 3 solutions, which is pretty nice because right now there's nothing built into Azure Stack to help you do that. Um, and a big note, like I've already mentioned, you do need to make sure this isn't a connected scenario and not a disconnected Azure Stack scenario. So I think I have a few minutes left here before I need to close out this session, and that way we can move on to our next session of the day. But if you remember during our PowerPoint presentation, I mentioned that there were some other possible solutions that we could use to manage our Azure Stack VMs. Something that I found the other day that isn't documented yet, but doesn't really mean much, but um, something that I thought was interesting, um, and it kind of excited me, was the opportunity to actually use Security Center and manage our Azure VMs, Azure Stack VMs, through some of the the Security Center solutions. Um, as you can see, we're getting reports in Security Center about the health of our Azure Stack VMs, some of the security features and recommendations that Security Center has for these VMs, things like this. So um, the more I poke around, the more I kind of find a little bit of things here and there, and it kind of excites me because I really do love Azure Stack. I love working with Azure Stack and Azure, and so small things like this are pretty exciting to me. So I just wanted to share this information with you before we ended the session today. So I'm hoping this was a pretty cool little find. I'm going to be playing with this more, and I'm also going to be doing some sessions in the future on around Security Center and around some of the other features in update management. A little more deep dive for anyone that's interested. As the great Porky Pig once said, that's all, folks. Thank you for attending this session. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would also like to reach out and thank Dave and Crystal for giving me this opportunity to do this session. Once again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me at Kristopher J on Twitter. Thank you guys and have a awesome day.